Hey everybody, welcome back here to Weather on the Go, all your weather coverage. My name is Hunter on this Saturday, November the 1st, 2025. Counting down to my birthday, we have 11 days until November 12th. And November 12th is when I turn 25 years old. So 11 days from now, you're going to be looking at a guy who is a quarter of a century old here on the YouTube channel. Well, thank you all for watching. We're going to be looking at your November outlook today, walking you through your temperature trends week by week, your precipitation trends week by week, and week by week, we're going to be looking at the snowfall opportunities even going through this month as well. Let's first look here at the climate update with your Nino index, because it does look like we are entering into a weak La Nina. That was the expectation going all the way back to August. We expected by at this point in early November that we'd be near minus 1.0, which would be equivalent to a weak La Nina. What does that mean? Well, a weak La Nina means we're looking here near the equator at those water temperatures. And notice how you see a lot more blue than you see orange or red. That means we are seeing cooler or colder water temperatures than warmer water temperatures. That is what is indicated by the blue. So with that in mind, that's why we have that weak La Nina. And quite honestly, this could get a little bit stronger, may try to get close to borderline moderate La Nina before we start to get this back toward neutral once we end the winter and then go into spring. But that's more information for another video. Let's look here at the ENSO probabilities that the Climate Prediction Center did put out later into October. And you notice here, the key is what we're looking at for November. Notice it has almost an 80% chance that blue bar is La Nina, and we're already seeing that. And that is going to continue likely even into the new month of December next month here once we get to there. And then finally, we'll start trickling back towards neutral. So what does that mean here from the weather perspective, at least locally this weekend? Well, cooler air is in place across the central and eastern United States, indicated by the blue and green. That's below to well below normal temperatures, especially in the green here. And that does cover a large chunk of the mid-Mississippi Valley and parts of northwestern Florida, where some areas are 15 degrees below normal, what we should see here for the first 2 days of November. In contrast, the Pacific Northwest is much milder than what you would expect for November 1st and 2nd, and those areas are a good 20-25 degrees above normal, especially up there into Montana and southern Saskatchewan and Canada. So our temperatures this afternoon is going to be pretty chilly out there across the upper Midwest. If you have any outdoor plans, make sure to bundle up because it will be chilly this afternoon. Upper 30s to mid 40s range, especially up here into Bismarck, Fargo, the Twin Cities, Minneapolis, St. Paul, La Crosse, over there toward Marquette, Green Bay, and Madison, even as far south as Des Moines and Kansas City. Going to be pretty chilly in the 40s as we go into the afternoon. You look further south near the Gulf Coast into the 60s, low 70s. We got a record high out here into Montana this afternoon at 71 and a couple record highs out there in the desert Southwest. Tonight, our temperatures will be dropping into the 20s in some areas. So again, make sure if you are venturing outdoors for any outdoor plans, maybe a bonfire or something like that, you bundle up a little bit because it'll be chilly, mid to upper 20s, low 30s out there across the Midwest, Great Lakes. Over to the Northeast here, more 30s, especially even 40s down here into the Southeast overnight. Sunday will warm up. We have a southerly wind component coming back across the plains in the eastern portions of Colorado, what we call the Front Range, and we even could see some low 80s here outside Denver. That would be record highs as we go into Sunday, November 2nd. So that is something to keep an eye on. The further east you go, a little bit of some cooler weather across the Great Lakes region, the Ohio Valley and Midwest, but especially the Northeast into Maine, northern New Hampshire, northern Vermont, and upstate New York could be barely getting out of the 30s for the day on Sunday. Precipitation trends this weekend going to be pretty quiet across the country outside of some areas of drizzle or sporadic rain showers in the east. Pretty dry in the middle here, and then looking out west, especially into Washington State and Oregon, Seattle and Portland could still see some rainfall as we go through the next 24 hours or so. Keeping a close eye on that. Nothing too crazy though out there. Let's go week by week. So going through November 8th, we're going to see this ridge of high pressure building across the desert southwest. Ridges of high pressure typically bring quieter weather for one and sunny weather. So that will help to warm our temperatures up, especially given the drought feedback in these areas. The drought is helping to warm our temperatures up more efficiently. And then you have a trough over here into portions of eastern tropical Canada towards Nova Scotia and Newfoundland. So what that will do is the majority of the lower 48 and the majority of southern Canada will be leaning above normal with our temperatures, believe it or not, as we go through November 8th, and that could bring more 60s, perhaps 70s further to the north, and it may feel more like an early spring day out there, a little bit cooler than normal across the southeast, but just again, your averages are a lot higher down here, so it'll be hard to get those temperatures above normal in the southeast this time of year. Precipitation looks pretty dry in the central eastern U.S. going through November 8th. There could be some precip up here into the Midwest with some weaker storm systems, stronger storms slamming into the Pacific Northwest, maybe as far south as Northern California. Could bring some much above normal precipitation through November 8th, and some of that in the higher elevations, especially into the Northern Rockies. We're looking at Idaho, Montana, and Wyoming could potentially see a few inches of snow. But as we've seen so far this season, the heaviest will be up there into British Columbia and Alberta, in those higher elevations seeing feet of snow going through November 8th. Now, how about we go into the second week of November, November 8th through the 15th, and this actually encompasses my birthday, which is again November 12th. A ridge of high pressure out across the west, again, brings quieter weather, typically brings some sunny weather in the mix there as well, and you can see that warmer weather will be residing really right underneath of that ridge. So the 8th through the 15th, still looking at above normal temperatures and a little bit near normal to below normal from the Great Lakes into the Northeast, with maybe again the opportunity for some rainfall activity or some storm systems moving into that region. And that could actually mean the Southeast gets some wetter weather as well. Might be an active week of weather across the United States as we go into the second week of November. And it could be cool enough, especially at night further north. We could potentially see some snow flurries, snowflakes anywhere across the upper Midwest, the Rockies, Great Lakes, over into the Northeast. Otherwise, southern Canada would be the prime area to watch for snowfall as we go through mid-month. Now, as we go into the third week of November, the 16th through the 23rd, that ridge is going to slide from west to east. So the eastern U.S. will get in on that ridge. Big trough indications across the west, and really diving far south does indicate a volatile weather pattern as we enter into that third week in November. Again, the 16th through the 23rd could be east of the Mississippi River, where we mainly see the warmer temperatures, dare I say potentially record-breaking heat potentially, and then big-time trough out west could bring some cooler weather, and this look will bring some active weather from the desert southwest all the way up into the upper Midwest and southern Canada. This could spark some severe weather, not discounting that, because you have the warmer air east, potentially record-breaking, cooler air west, where those temperatures clash, where we get the cool weather with the warm, could potentially see a bigger storm system with severe weather, heavy rain, but also a snow side, potentially from the central Rockies, a little bit further south into Colorado, Utah this time around, and then into the Dakotas, the Black Hills region, up there into northern Minnesota. That would be the prime area for snowfall on the cold side of any low-pressure system into that third week of November. Now, finally, the last week of November, the 23rd through the 30th, we're going to see that ridge really building over the Hudson Bay, some heights building across the United States, a little bit of a trough in the West Atlantic, and a strong trough again indicated across the West Coast. What that means for our temperatures, I think we start to cool off a little bit. Late November, we have a cool spell coming, and that will take us into Thanksgiving weekend as well, where we could be seeing some cooler temperatures for Thanksgiving this time around. It does look fairly active as well. The Pacific Southwest, California, the Sacramento Valley there, we could potentially see some well above normal precipitation. That does include the Sierra Mountains, so be keeping an eye on that. And then that will start to travel inland and see how far east it goes. It does look like the Gulf Coast, southeast, and up the East Coast looks a little bit drier into that last week of November. Again, we're talking the 23rd through the 30th. But any precipitation that gets squeezed out, we could see some very heavy snow prospects for the Sierra Mountains out here in the higher elevations of California. If this comes to fruition, the Rockies, especially Western Rockies, will get in on that, and the upper Great Lakes near Lake Superior, UP, and Michigan could see an early snowfall there near Thanksgiving and perhaps even a winter storm. So be keeping a very close eye on that going through the rest of November. When you average out all 30 days of November, yes, it is leaning above normal with our temperatures across most of the lower 48. We'll call it 90% of us, but that does not mean we won't see colder spells. There could be some cold fronts that come through that bring us some colder temperatures. We just showed you the last week of November. That could bring some colder weather, especially for a more widespread area across southern Canada, but especially the lower 48 into the United States. So again, that is a little bit variable there. But we look at precipitation. What is likely is that it's very active across the west. It travels eastward into the Rockies, and then it still maintains some precipitation into the Midwest. But areas further south, near the Gulf Coast, the southeast, and then up the eastern seaboard, trending a little bit normal to below normal with our precipitation going through that 30-day stretch of November. Again, when you look at the reds, that's very dry down here near, say, Houston or Jackson, Mississippi, or over toward Atlanta. It doesn't mean we're going to be bone dry. It just means that we're going to see a lot of drier weather compared to wetter weather through that 30-day average. When you look at the 30-day average or so for the snowfall, we're going to see that snow line step down a little bit further south from Canada into the northern U.S. And yes, this could include more of the Sierras that haven't seen a lot of snow so far early this season. And it will include more of the central southern Rockies. Could even get some higher elevation snow in the mountains in Arizona, into New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah this time around, and perhaps some snowfall flirting with areas into, say, Iowa, northern Illinois, over there into Pennsylvania. So be keeping an eye on that going into late November. If that cool spell does come to fruition, you get precipitation with that colder weather, sure, then you could see some snowfall in those areas I just mentioned. That is for sure. Thank you all for watching. I do appreciate you watching my weather forecast and supporting the channel. You want to go above and beyond, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. We cover Canada, the United States, the tropics. Like the video. Would love to see as many likes as possible. Yesterday's video was tough. We didn't even reach 3,000 views. We'd love to hit 10,000 views at least on this video. So again, make sure to subscribe, share the video with as many people as possible, friends, family, and anybody that you know, and also like the video. Thank you all for watching, and have a wonderful start to November out there.